Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the November 30th, 2020 lunar eclipse in Gemini, part 1 of 2. And for those of you that may not know lunar eclipse, as far as what it means astrologically, well, a lunar eclipse is, as far as the basic meaning goes, it's like a regular full moon, but it's more amplified and intensified. Monumental, life-altering events may take place at this time. You could have prominent, someone prominent in your life. Generally, I would say a female, because it is, you know, you're talking about lunar as opposed to solar. Lunar eclipses can be the departure of a prominent woman in one's life. Being in Gemini, it may be a Gemini sun, moon, or ascendant person, or it may simply be one that embodies Gemini characteristics and traits. And this is something where there could be very powerful revelations uh, at this time, and it's more than just, like a regular, full moon. I mean, when you have it, say for example, if you have this in your first or your sixth house in your chart, it may be something health related. And if it's in, considering it's a lunar eclipse, it may be, in Gemini, something likely Gemini related. Could be some serious issues, with the lungs, or something, like very strong, like nerve damage, like with your hands and arms, something that might be more life altering as opposed to a regular full moon. A regular full moon could just be, say if you had a regular full moon in Gemini that took place in your first or sixth house in your natal chart, it may just be some kind of, minor abrasion, to your arms or something. It might be some, breathing, mild, breathing issue that you may be going through. It's not something that would be, generally, it wouldn't be something really as significant or powerful in contrast to a lunar eclipse. Now, lunar eclipse, the fact that this is in Gemini, and lunar eclipse, this could affect all signs. It can affect all signs collectively, but especially people that have a Gemini sun, moon, or ascendant, or a Cancer sun, moon, or ascendant. Gemini, of course, because it'd be in their own sign, and the zodiac sign Cancer, because Cancer, as many of you may know, is simply affected strongly by all transits of the moon, given that the moon does rule Cancer. And I think this definitely plays a role, a very integral role, in why the zodiac sign Cancer can be so moody, fickle, and temperamental. This is something, and especially if this is making a conjunction to one's natal sun, moon, or ascendant. You figure the sun is connected with life, so it could be something. That could really intensify something, life altering. I'm going to have this hit my own natal Gemini moon. It's going to conjunct my Gemini moon, so it could be something, home related, something of, that causes some great intensification of, as far as emotional uh, energy goes, something that hits, maybe hits deep in my, might be my soul, maybe to some degree. At this time, it could be some home, being the moon, some home family situation. But anyway, that could be really intensified. But the thing what I want to get at is also too, we're talking about lunar eclipse in astrology, could also be a greater propensity for accidents. And the fact that this is a lunar eclipse as opposed to a full moon, it could have really stronger repercussions, and it could be more dangerous in terms of the effects of having like an accident. If somebody is, especially you got this in the sign Gemini, which is associated with cars, local transportation, and short journeys. So there might be a greater proclivity for accidents such as driving while texting. It could be through, talking with somebody, being on the phone and you're not supposed to. Doing, could be through mischievous activity, and I'm not, it could be, somebody putting up, like a tax strip in the road or something, or, some prank, or I don't want to say break. The brake line is something with the brake lines. I mean, you have to even be careful of things like that because Gemini and negative manifestation could be very mischievous, and you have to. This is something. It could be through some instigation, such as maybe somebody that's driving alongside you on the road says something provoking, and because Gemini again very negatively manifests, could be about instigating, and it's just trying to do too many things simultaneously. So and really, so you have to. This is a time to obviously really be very prudent regarding accidents. So, and also when we're talking about lunar eclipses in astrology, given that it is it's an amplified, intensified full moon, these can be about ends and culminations, completions of things. And the fact that it's a lunar eclipse as opposed to a full moon, it could be something that ends that had been going on perhaps for a longer duration or was more protracted and prolonged. If you're talking about, given that this is in Gemini, it could be something of connected, with maybe vicariousness. It might be maybe yourself, maybe living through some other person's achievements, or it could be somebody that could be prominent in your life scheme that may be doing this. If it's in the third house, it might be a sibling, a cousin, even a neighbor you may know. And it's also could be the end of something very superficial. It could be a superficial relationship that you may, if it's in the seventh house as an example, a superficial connection you may have had with somebody. I think a lot of this energy of the lunar eclipse in Gemini might manifest in the ending of things that are superficial, that don't have much really, that they lack depth, they lack some kind of meaning. It's just something that might have been, something very much on the surface and didn't really have much substance to it. It could be an ending of somebody gossiping. It might be somebody that maybe in your life that you may have seen as a friend, but some kind of gossiping may have gone on for a very sustained period. And this is the time where you say, maybe enough is enough, I'm tired of it. Gemini, as far as crimes go, can be associated with plagiarism and forgery and thievery. So it could be something that may have been going on that may come to an end through discovery, becoming cognizant of one of these things for whatever reason. And this is something where you may finally are able to find some kind of ending to this at this time. And also it could be some ending associated with two-faced type behavior, and it could just be people that are somebody that might have been pretending to be your friend, but in disguise they were really an adversary, or somebody that just had very vacillating type of energy that went back and forth. Will be nice to you one day, and then the next day they were just completely the opposite, belligerent or what have you. It might be some mischievous energy, behavior that maybe you've been putting up with for some time. It's just something, those kind of things may come to an end. I saw an episode on Investigation Discovery. It may have been Fear Thy Neighbor. It was some episode where this guy, was trying to get this neighbor back, and is super gluing the guy's mailbox and doing things like that. And it could be something that's a little bit severe as an example, but it could be something like that is finally maybe coming to an end for whatever reason. And also, if there's any slander, say if you have this in your 10th house, if there was some slanderous lies that were affecting your reputation, this could be a time where you may very well say, okay, this is ending at this point in time. And whether it's because it just happens to end at this time, or you're able to put it to an end, whether it's finding the courage to do so or what have you. Now, also too, if this is in, say, if this falls, especially if this falls in your second, sixth, or 10th house in your natal chart, this could be an ending to a Gemini-like career. It could be something with communications, whether it's data communications, broadcasting, writing, journalism, It could be, or computer programming, something where there's communications may be involved. It might be something that was involving multitasking, where maybe you were spreading yourself too thin. It could be something where it requires a strong use of the hands, manual dexterity, like working on cars or auto refrigeration mechanics. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that. I'm back. But anyway, and the thing about this too is could be working as a car salesman, something that requires a lot of loquacious energy, a lot of fast talking. And the thing about this too is when you're talking about full moon lunar eclipses in astrology, they often can manifest in revelations and unveilings. It could be something that you become cognizant of for whatever reason. It might have been something that was hidden or concealed for a certain amount of time, or something that you weren't able to open your eyes up to until this moment. And it could be the revelation of somebody that was very, dual natured and really in their behavior, somebody that was very two-faced. Sometimes it could be a bipolar situation. If you have this happening, say, in your 12th house, or if it's hitting your, contacting your natal Mercury, or even even third house cusp, maybe this could be some revelation of some, it could be a bipolar situation that maybe you have, or if it's, depending on what house it's in, it might be something connected with somebody that very well, somebody that's very prominent in your life. This could be, and the fact that we're talking about lunar eclipses, this is something that could be very, a serious situation that can be life altering for various reasons. It could be also maybe some issue with forgery or plagiarism from somebody that you may have known. They may have been doing something, maybe with it could be with your checks or something. Maybe it was something that it took a while to investigate, and it's something that finally is revealed and unveiled at this time. And even an identity crisis may come up at this time. It could be as to who you really are. It might be somebody that you really may it might be somebody that very well. It might be some kind of impersonation of some identity at this time. Maybe you find out that somebody's been fraudulently using your own identity. Remember that Gemini is the sign of the twins. It's a sign. It's connected with identity crisis, and maybe in two people. This could be something where somebody you may have known may have gotten your identity and is using it, and being that person in addition to who they really are. Sometimes it could be something with plagiarism, and also too, on the positive end, this could be about finding out positive things about yourself or somebody else in your life scheme that could be very positive, associated with Gemini, such as versatility, or being multifaceted, being able to do things with manual dexterity, work with the hands, being able to be very articulate, and show, maybe address being able to display some kind of writing ability that may not have been known to you before. This could also be a time too, where you're talking about, when full moon lunar eclipses in astrology can also be about what one maybe simply be very tired, full of, and be exasperated at. And it's time where enough is enough. And given that it is a lunar eclipse as opposed to a regular full moon, it could be something that may have been going on for a very long duration, and it's something where you might finally have had enough is enough. It's about full moon lunar eclipses could be about very strong declarations and things that might come to an end, and it could end a connection with somebody, as an example, or a position you had, some job you may have had in your life. And so it can be, so as some examples, it can be where maybe you're tired, full, exasperated at somebody that might be overly superficial, or maybe a mercurial person, a person that's like one way one day and then changes on you the next, and maybe you've been putting up with it for some time, and it's a time now where you can say you don't want to deal with it anymore. A person that might simply be constantly talking over you, or overly inquisitive or nosy, that wants to get into your business constantly. Somebody that might have been gossiping about you for an extensive period, and also maybe where somebody you may have known that you wanted to get closer to might wanted to had a very strong aversion to being pinned down, so to speak, as far as a commitment goes. And this is the time maybe you issue an ultimatum and say, well, this is where I want our connection to be stronger. Um, I'm tired of the superficial connection. So anyway, now, it's important, of course, to look at the house it falls in, as this can impact the delineation and interpretation. Now, mine is going to fall in my first house in my natal chart, and it's going to be, I mean, when you're talking about the first house can be, is the physical body. This could be some kind of maybe Gemini issue that comes up. I'm hoping this isn't going to be something nerve related with my arms or hands that's exacerbated and comes to light at this time. But it could simply be that I might become tired, exasperated, or full at superficial new beginnings, starting things, maybe not sticking with them, lacking the persistence to follow through on them. It could be, uh, something too where I might become more cognizant or aware maybe of some, Gemini qualities I might actually have. And being it's in the first house of self, even though I have a Taurus ascendant, it's going to be hitting my natal moon in Gemini. It could be some qualities that I may have as far as my inner, fact that it's conjunct my moon, as far as my inner demeanor may go, that I might, not always be conscious of, since we're talking about the moon. I might be more cognizant and aware of having very versatile, multifaceted qualities, maybe being quick-witted, and maybe perhaps applying this toward life in some manner. So, and what I want to talk about too is that when we're talking about lunar eclipses in astrology, they can be serendipitous. I see them as being like this. That could be something that could be rather adverse, may actually manifest in something that might be more auspicious and positive. For example, let's say, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, being in Gemini. So as an odd example, say hypothetically your phone wakes you up at night. You forgot to turn it off, and it wakes you up early in the morning, and like 2 or 3 in the morning. And what happens is you wind up going on. You say, okay, I'm up. Maybe I'm gonna watch a little something on my TV, and you happen to see a commercial, in some commercial, infomercial, whatever, about identity theft. And remember, Gemini, I could see being associated with this because Gemini, again, is the sign of the twins. It's about the dual personality, taking on another person's identity. Gemini is the sign, I would say, is associated with identity crisis. You go on and watch this infomercial, and somehow, I don't, maybe it may not be at that moment in time, but maybe shortly after that in the near future, you may go and find out, through some credit check or something, you find out that somebody had been using your identity fraudulently, and by finding this out, you have the opportunity perhaps to restore uh, your credit. So I mean, those are some things, as an odd example, but it's one of those things where things can happen where you find something out in a very odd way. And again, it could be something that might seem as somewhat adverse or negative initially, but might wind up resulting in something more positive for you. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.